Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And today, we're going to be going over some Titan TikToks. And I do a lore series every Monday. Every Wednesday is the short version of that. That's more of a narrative experience, while Monday's video is more of a lore study and a Bible study all in one. And then, of course, I do these react videos. But let's get this started, and I want to start out with Genesis 6. Verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And we're going to see a little bit later on that these guys, the first version of the giants, were the Titans. And also there's a clash of the Titans in 1st Enoch as well. But anyways, we'll get into that. So let's start this up here.
When throwing hordes of guard at the wall stops working and even the Space Marines aren't enough, the Mechanicum brings out the Titans. Dread-inducing...
I almost did it again. Anyways, guys, this is Dingus 40k Imperial Titans explained in 60 seconds. One of these days I'll remember to do that at the beginning. Apologies, Dingus.
When throwing hordes of guard at the wall stops working and even the Space Marines aren't enough, the Mechanicum brings out the Titans. Dread-inducing colossal gods of war, these machines tower over the battlefield and lay waste to anything in their sight with devastating weaponry. Titans vary in size, with even the smallest being absolutely massive. Not to be confused with Imperial Knights, which are more like big mech suits, but even those can shoulder check a building. Titans are operated by a princeps who merges their mind with the machine, controlling it through thought, and each have a sizable crew depending on the Titan. Some of the most notable Titans are the Warhound, Scout Titan designed to flank the enemy and take out tanks and infantry from behind enemy lines. Reavers for when your conventional forces need close backup support.
Those are some of the most menacing things you will ever see, man. Let's go back real quick. Let me check out these guns.
Forces need close backup. Reavers for when your conventional forces need
Look at those, man. Those are all missiles that are bigger than cars sometimes, right? But anyways, I digress.
Close backup support, Warbringers for dedicated anti-Titan fire support, Warlords being the most common and versatile walking fortresses with devastating weaponry to match, and the largest being the Emperor-class Titans, the Imperator and the Warmongerer, only deployed in the most apocalyptic of battles and situations where you just need to flex your walking castle. Imagine fighting for weeks in a battle as a guardsman, only for a massive f***-off walking cathedral to blow away the enemy army in a single shot, breaking the bones of half your squad with the shockwave, and melting the skin off anyone who was any closer.
Now we're going to be reacting to War Master's Tavern, the Apocalypse class Titan. Alright, let me get into the scripture real quick. Alright, now check this out. Now we're going to get into how big these giants were. Okay. Let me find it real quick. Okay. 1st Enoch chapter 7. Starting in verse 2. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. This is where human sacrifice came from. But not only that, they ate their own kind, and they had some like genetic breeding farms for food, like right here. And they began to sin against the birds, the beasts, and the reptiles, and the fish, to devour one another's flesh and to drink the blood. But anyways, you want to know how much 3,000 ells is? 4,500 feet. So, very interesting. And real quick, let me address this. Right. The Liger came out like a normal baby, right? It just kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And all they did was just turn off the little growth hormone that pauses growth or that stops growth. And so it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So, very interesting stuff. But it also says that the women became sirens and all kinds of stuff. So there was probably other shenanigans how they were able to do it as well. But anyways, I digress. It's not
all the Titans pressed into service by the Imperium, the Apocalypse class was definitely... one of the most devastating. But interestingly, the Apocalypse was never a full class of Titan. Instead, it was more likely that it was a modification to an already existing Titan pattern, such as the dreaded Emperor class. Exact records on how many Apocalypse Titans were built have been lost to time, but we know there was at least one, which took part in both the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy.
Can you imagine that thing saying, "Heresy detected," looking right at you? There was a game, I think it's called The Invincible, where it has these like little spider robot things. It's an okay game. And you see it starts firing. Well, you don't get to see it, but basically the story is they fired upon their alliance brethren. So, anyways.
Where it would be captured. If the legends are to be believed, then the Apocalypse was a truly gargantuan monstrosity. Some accounts claimed that this Titan could be seen from orbit, and that it had no equal among other Titans. However, like many of the Imperium's greatest weapons, the design specifications, knowledge, capabilities, and resources to build such a machine have been lost to time. A tragic end for such a weapon.
Now we're going to be reacting to Kaiser Clips X1, the Titans of the Imperium. Now we're going to get back into the Bible here. We're going to see that one of the most important things in the Bible, guys, other than the doctrine of Jesus Christ, right, is Genesis 6. If you don't understand Genesis 6, you don't understand what's going on in the Bible at all, right? That's the reason why God had this crusade on Jerusalem. And let me show you. So Numbers 30. So this is when the spies are going into the land and they're seeing these giants right here. So Numbers 13:33. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. So imagine a grasshopper to us. That's exactly what was going on there. These giants were huge, even after the flood. You know, they were greatly diminished, but they were still pretty darn tall. That's what Israel was going up against. That's why Samson had to be supernaturally enhanced, because these giants were supernaturally enhanced. You got to remember, angel and human, right? And they're the ones who became the demons, right? It tells us that they will be known as evil spirits because earth was their primal origin. They weren't born in heaven, they were born on earth. And God didn't permit their spirits, right? So they are the giants, or the demons that we think of. And plus there was all kinds of genetic modifications. Humans were mixing one animal species with the other. Jasher 4 verse 18 says that. Jubilees 5 says it too, basically, and goes even further. But anyways, I digress. Let's get this started.
Did you know the Imperium's largest war engines are treated as sacred beings? The Imperial Titans are colossal god machines of the Collegia Titanica, towering over battlefields like walking fortresses. They differ in size, with some being hundreds of feet tall, armed with weapons capable of leveling entire cities. But controlling one isn't simple. Each Titan contains a machine spirit, an ancient, semi-sentient presence that must
Blessed be the Omnissiah.
Be constrained, or it will resist its pilot. Princeps, the humans who command Titans, don't just operate them. They bond with them, mind to machine. In some cases, that bond is...
I wonder if there's something to that, because we see this in Pacific Rim as well, kind of, right? You kind of have to get that little synapses going instead of just controls. But anyways, I don't know how all that would work.
So intense that the pilot loses their sense of self, overwhelmed by the Titan's will and ancient instincts for war. And when Titans fight each other, it is catastrophic. Entire landscapes are annihilated in...
And I believe this is from the soundtrack of Mechanicus, right? The game, I do believe. Didn't that get like one of the best soundtracks ever or something? Because I do like that. It's pretty good. Anyways.
Seconds. Cities vanish under plasma fire and seismic shockwaves. To the Imperium, these aren't just weapons. They are avatars of the Omnissiah's power. And when they walk, gods go to war.
Now we're going to be reacting to Pancreas No Work, big dogs coming through. I've actually done, it's one of my biggest videos yet, but I have done a reaction to Pancreas No Work before. Like I said, it's one of the biggest video. I think it has like 3,000, almost 4,000 views on it. But anyways, that was when I did that stuff. But I digress. Now we're going to see the clash of the Titans. So this is 1 Enoch, chapter 10, verse 9. And Gabriel said to the Lord, proceed against the B words and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication, and the children of the watchers from amongst men, and cause them to go forth. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. For length of days shall they not have. The clash of the Titans. But anyways. Oh,
Titans are the Imperium's final fuck you to anyone unlucky enough to be fighting against one on the ground.
Sounds like there's going to be some language in this one, so apologies.
Combine a Christian cathedral with a Jaeger from Pacific Rim, and you've got one of these monsters. Deployed either when lesser forces aren't cutting it, or the Imperium feels like sending a message, 9 out of 10 times these things spell doom for whoever is unlucky enough to be caught in their crosshairs. Armed with the best weapons the Imperium no longer understands how to make, and crewed with people who are more or less wired into the damn thing, there's very little...
Yep, it wouldn't be Warhammer 40k if they actually knew to make new technology, right? Which they do, but they because of the dark age of technology, they don't progress per se, right? They're kind of afraid of that, which you can't necessarily blame them. But anyways, I digress.
In the galaxy that can withstand the power of a single Titan, let alone when the Mechanicus can be convinced to deploy an entire army of them. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, because the only thing better than overkill is having a choice in what kind of overkill you'd like. While some armies have had reasonable success at killing them off, such as the Tau, at the end of the day there will always be more Titans to throw at the enemy. And really, that's all there is to it. Big mechs with big guns. What's there not to love?
Now we're going to be reacting to Darkfall Nostromo, the most powerful Titan of the Imperium. Now, we're going to see David and his men battling these giants. So this is Samuel 21. I'm going to say starting in verse 16. And Ishbanob, which was of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight, he being girded with a new sword, thought to have slain David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, succored him, and smote the Philistine, and killed him. Then the man of David sware unto him, saying, Thou shalt go no more out with us to battle, that thou quench not the light of Israel. And it came to pass after this, that there was again a battle with the Philistines at Gob. The son of Sibbachai, the Hushathite, slew Saph, which was of the sons of the giant. There is again. And there was again a battle in Gob with the Philistines, where Elhanan, the son of Jeroboam, however you say that, the Bethlehemite, slew brother of Goliath, the Gittite, the staff whose spear was like a weaver's beam. Now, if you remember, when David went up against Goliath, he grabbed 5 stones. That's because Goliath had 5 brothers, who were probably a little bit taller than him. Like, it seems like Goliath was the runt of the family. And there's a show called House of David that actually, it takes a lot of liberties, and a lot of it's not true. But it does get the giants right in that one. So, very interesting show if you want to check it out. Anyways, let's get this started.
Many of you have heard of Psi Titans, but do you know which Titan was the most powerful in the Imperium? Or at least, during the Dark Age of technology. That title belongs to the Castigator-class Titan. It was even larger than an Emperor-class Titan, and was protected by self-repairing armor. The Castigator was created during the Dark Age of technology, and today, the Imperium has no active Castigators left. Yet, they still exist somewhere in the galaxy. One corrupted by chaos was discovered by the Grey Knights, led by Justicar Alaric, on a demon...
You know, that's one thing... Yeah. Anyways, never mind.
World of the Dark Mechanicum. What made this Titan truly terrifying was that it was controlled by an abominable intelligence and still contained a complete STC, making it possible to reproduce the Titan. The Grey Knights, of course, destroyed it. Chaos.
Isn't there a ship? I think it's the Mechanicus, whatever, that there's an AI on this ship, but they don't even know it. I can't. Where's it from? I don't know. Anyways.
Corruption left them no other choice, but somewhere out there.
Or it's got an STC on it with an AI. Anyways.
More Castigator-class Titans may still remain. Can you imagine that?
Now we're going to wind this down, guys. I want to thank everybody who liked the video. If you disliked the video, thank you for at least giving me a chance. And you guys, have a wonderful day.